Hello to all of my beautiful princess divas out there. Welcome to another video. If you don't know me, my name's Maria. I like to talk about fashion, film, media, and television. I'm glad you're here. Today, we're going to be talking about how horror is the genre that understands women the best. If you see me looking down, it's my journal where all my notes are because I handwrite everything because I'm insane. So we have to start historically. Historically, horror has been a genre that is going to project, reflect any societal fears that we have going on at the moment. It's going to turn real world anxieties, any historical traumas, cultural tensions, anything like that into either like monsters or dark stories. And that takes me to, where do women come into play? Well, right now and historically, we've seen just a loss of autonomy or a fear of losing autonomy, with women having restricted rights, with rights being rolled back and anything like that. Some historical examples, I actually came across these when I was reading an interview on, I think it was the ASU website, and I'll link it below. But Carrie and The Exorcist were released around the time that the Roe v. Wade decisions were made. So 1976 for Carrie, 1973 for The Exorcist. And both films center the male gaze on girls during puberty and kind of project them as like a monstrous cautionary tale on the potential of women's power. How does this change when we bring women into horror, or into creating it, or into having a more active role within it? Historically, women are either villainized or victimized, and we still see this in films today, but women tend to play a more active role, I would say. We've seen the trope of the final girl kind of come across in slashers, giving women a little bit more autonomy. But where does this put us now in a society that's very red-pilled, we're just going very backwards, years with women losing rights just like left and right, and autonomy all over the world? The life of a trad wife is being marketed and sold to young girls and women everywhere, just like with big creators like Nara Smith, the Ballerina Farms, and I'm sure there are many, many more, but this is what I can think off of the top of my head. Interestingly enough, Nara Smith recently went on Call Her Daddy and was talking about how she's not a trad wife and she makes her own income and this and that. And to that, I say there is a truth to this, but also she is still kind of marketing that package, like pristine, perfect life idea. It's very dystopian and not realistic at all. Let me be clear. Not having your own money, your own aspirations, and having a man provide everything for you, it is the quickest way to lose your autonomy altogether. The world runs on money, and unfortunately, we live in a time where if you don't have money, your voice, your opinions, anything that you say does not matter. And like if you don't have the money to back yourself up, you don't have a valid voice, you don't have a valid opinion, and it sucks. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, we can talk about some examples. We're gonna start with Obsession, which came out in 2026. In summary, cowardly man named Bear makes a really stupid wish. The girl he likes becomes obsessed with him. An entity kind of like possesses her, and it will go to any lengths to be with him. She loses her autonomy almost completely, and a very horrifying detail, I would say, is when we see parts of Nikki come through and she is literally begging Bear to just like put her out of her misery, because it is not Nikki. And there's a line where she's like, I've never been with you, because she hasn't been, and it's been this entity the entire time. My light died. Yay, hold on. Okay, I'm back, much better. Where were we? Obsession. So this is one of those scenarios within film where we're seeing that fear reflected of loss of autonomy, and you'll see a common thread in the examples that I'm using today. The only way out of this like enchantment, curse, whatever you want to call it, to me it's a curse, that's horrifying, is for one of them to, you know, and it takes multiple times of Nikki begging him to put her out of her misery. He calls the hotline. They tell him that this is the only way for her to be free from the wish that he's made. And he even tries to go to the lengths of like asking one of his friends to make the wish instead, like to reverse his wish, even though that's honestly not how it's gonna work, and it doesn't work out. He waits until this entity has literally slaughtered like his entire friend group. He then overdoses and leaves Nikki, who we know and he knows is going to be broken out of this curse, to deal with the consequences of his actions. And it's like really clear how horrified she is at the end when she snaps out of it. It honestly, I was not scared during this movie. I was scared, but I think the main emotion that I felt at the end of this movie was anger, because my lord, I hate men so much. Let's continue to companion. This one kind of mixes in the fear of AI, but also the fear of women losing their autonomy. So a man buys a machine, a robot, to be his companion, whatever you make of that. She gains sentience throughout the movie. She realizes that she's just an object. She's just something to be of use to him. And she, like, when she realizes this purpose, it makes her feel icky. It makes her just like not, she doesn't want to do this. She eventually just offs everyone, which honestly, the ending of this one isn't as bad, because at least she's kind of like behaving like an active character, but it does still revolve around the loss of autonomy, because the controls that he has on the like machine, on his companion, he controls all of that, and he can turn them off or on and like have her be more human, less human, this and that. And it was a very interesting movie to watch. Sophie Thatcher, did an incredible job portraying this character. And the outfit's also really awesome. I'll talk about that another day. Now, don't come to me whining about the male loneliness epidemic. I don't care. I'll make fun of you. I think men should be more lonely, actually. Take that for what you will. Okay, now, last example that I'm gonna talk about, you kind of have to take with a grain of salt, because it's technically a thriller, but this scenario is just horrific to me. I actually rewatched the movie yesterday while I was taking notes on it. And the movie is Don't Worry Darling. It came out in 2022. It's starring Florence Pugh and Harry Styles, where he's British and evil. It's a psychological thriller. It's horrifying. That's what it is. Honestly, the lore behind this movie is also crazy. If you go into like a different rabbit hole of that, you'll spend hours looking into it. But this movie takes place in this picture perfect community that is founded by, run by what's called the Victory Project. It's a very utopian society, 1950s, picturesque, where nothing ever goes wrong. The men leave for work in the morning, the women stay behind and do the cooking, the cleaning, the house maintenance. It is a lonely red-pilled man's dream. So the movie starts in a pretty standard way, but eventually we see things start to devolve. Margaret, one of the wives in the community, is very clearly unhappy. She ends up taking her own life. She's just showing at the very beginning a lot of resistance. Like, she clearly does not want to be in this community. And Alice, Florence Pugh, catches on to this, and she sticks her nose where she shouldn't, and she finds out just too much for her to know. It turns out that they're in this like crazy vision, like they're plugged into a machine, and the way that they're living this is like through their brain. It was an insane, scary movie, and it like kind of showed the most, you know, utopian, dystopian society that could ever be. And this just brings me to like my final point of women are so fearful about so many things nowadays, and we ought to be. There's a lot going on in the world, and it be like that. Those fears are gonna come across in film and media, and we're gonna see more and more stories start to come out like this, and reflect what's going on within our world on the screens. I'm horrified and excited to see more things that will be coming out of this sort. They always terrify me, but I do think that they're very intriguing, and they can always serve as a good cautionary tale. Like, I do not want to end up like that. So yeah, if you like this video, drop a like, subscribe. I'll be back with a vlog actually next week. I'm going to New York City, doing something fun. I know. Ooh, exciting. You'll have to stay tuned. But yeah, that's all I had today. I hope you all have a lovely, beautiful day. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy life. Do something kind for yourself. Bye-bye.